Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
9 minutes before 8, we'll be coming to more of your conversation concerning the views of Asim Rafiq and his tears as he exposed the racism. Also coming up, a £1 trillion trade plan for UK. Details on that in just a moment. But we're talking about one sportsman, let's talk about another in the headlines, this time for all the wrong reasons. I speak with Manchester City player Benjamin Mendy. Details now from LBC's reporter in Manchester, Tom Dunn. Tom?
Nick, the France international's already been charged with 4 counts of rape and 1 of sexual assault. Now, these 2 additional charges that has been brought against him relate to another complainant. This now means 4 women in total are now making allegations against the 27-year-old. Benjamin Mendy is currently being held on remand at HMP Altcourse on Merseyside after being refused bail 3 times by a judge. He will appear before Stockport Magistrates Court this morning, where these new charges will be laid before the court. The footballer is also appearing alongside another man, a 40-year-old from Salford, who's also a defendant in this case. Mendy signed for Manchester City back in 2017, but hasn't featured for them since the first charge by police was brought back in August. He's a former Premier League and World Cup winner and was also awarded the Civil Legion of Honour back in 2018 by his country for winning the World Cup. The left-back remains suspended by the club, who say they'll offer no further comment until all legal proceedings have concluded.
Tom Dunn reporting. Now let's come to that trade plan I talked about. UK businesses to double exports to £1 trillion by 2030. The strategy is called Made in the UK, Sold to the World. And here to explain, Conservative MP and International Trade Secretary Anne-Marie Trevelyan. How does it work, Secretary of State? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. So we're launching the strategy today. We want to energise and rocket boost all our amazing businesses who have some of the best products in the world, whether they're goods or services, and we want them to do a great deal more exporting. What we see is already some fantastic products, but only 1 in 10 of our businesses export. We think at least 1 in 7 could. In Scotland, only 1 in 20 do. So we want to make it easier and support them, those who are already exporting to do more exporting, and those who don't yet do exporting to think about how they could. So we'll have an export academy to help our SMEs really get to grips with what it involves. We've got 1,500 trade experts around the globe in our embassies to support them as they do that. We're going to have a renewed trade show programme so that we can take businesses out to the countries where they want to export. So a whole series of tools and financial support to really give them what they need to think about getting their amazing UK-made goods and services out to the rest of the world.
To someone listening now who runs a business, how do they know whether he or she qualifies, Secretary of State?
So everybody qualifies for the opportunity. If they've got something they want to find new markets for, they can come through both to our export support service, which is focused on European markets at the moment with a view to growing, and indeed talk to our teams.
How do they get to your
the
team?
support systems.
How do they get to the team?
So they can go online today to the DIT website and find relevant links to support them, and through both their Chambers of Commerce, the CBI, the Federation of Small Businesses. They're all working alongside us to help give businesses these new tools and the encouragement and the support to get out there and sell our great British produce.
Well, best of luck with that. While I have the benefit of you on the line, just a couple of other areas to explore. The Home Secretary is quoted as saying that the asylum system is a merry-go-round and is broken. How is it to be fixed in your view?
So I think the Home Secretary's been tackling this since she came into post and trying to get...
What has she achieved?
Well, I think that the big challenge that she's had and that she's taken head on is dealing with these appalling criminal gangs who not only across the Channel migration route, but more widely, and we've seen this over a number of years.
But the numbers are increasing, Secretary of State.
Well,
how is she dealing with it if the numbers are soaring?
Well, because the criminal gangs are doing their best to abuse the vulnerability of those
so she's
who
failing,
are
isn't she?
seeking asylum. No, not at all. She's increasing and pushing on to tackle them and deal with this appalling migration.
I don't understand. The figures are going through the roof. 2020 figure was 10,563. We're now 12,252. The numbers go up and up and up. And you're telling me she's successful?
So there are two issues running here. We are not a country that's closed our doors to asylum seekers. We absolutely always want to continue to provide safe harbour for those vulnerable families and individuals who want to be part of our UK family and to be contributors here in a safe place. The flip side of that is that there are also these criminal gangs who are abusing both the trust and vulnerability of families, but also economic migrants for whom there are legitimate routes to come through, and these are not legitimate routes. And she is working.
I don't understand.
Well, she's working with many groups and indeed uses the tools at her disposal to make sure that it's more effective. Well, if you look at the cross-channel illegal migration going on, working very closely with the French and really to get in.
But it's not working, Secretary of State, is it?
Well, it is working in that we are all over this and we are fighting the gangs. The reality is that the gangs will continue to try and take advantage of and abuse those most vulnerable. There are legitimate ways for those people to seek asylum in the UK, and she continues to make and is building a much more robust system to do it. The work that her team are doing to support those Afghanistani families, for instance, is incredibly impactful.
Do you know how many asylum seekers are awaiting their initial verdict? There's no reason why you should, by the way. It's not your department.
I'm afraid I don't have the figures at my fingertips.
57,000 have not even had their initial verdict. And you're telling me she's working very hard.
So, well, I can assert absolutely that the Home Office team work literally all hours, and that continues to be a challenge. But this is why finding a system that can cope, but also stopping at the door those who are illegally trying to get into the UK, so that we can ensure that those who most need it are getting the support they need.
What second jobs need to be banned in your view, Secretary of State?
So I was really pleased to see the Prime Minister's letter yesterday, and I think he raises the two particular points from the 2018 report, which I think are very sound, and I think I would expect will command cross-party support from the vast majority of my colleagues. And I think those two key ones, that actually the question of political consultancy, so obviously lobbying has been disallowed for a long time, but political consultancy, whilst you are a serving MP, is something that is not helpful, provides no transparency to what that means, and I don't think that's helpful. I think, on the other hand, Chris Bryant's brilliant time spent being an author is something that we should always continue to support, and indeed someone like Maria Caulfield, who is a nurse who does shifts in her local hospital at weekends, continues to be not only something that the NHS values, but she brings a richness to her role as an MP. So I think what we want to see, Nick, is a clarity, clearly transparency, always the most important thing, because with that, you as journalists and our constituents can see very clearly what's going on.
But if I'm a supremely successful barrister and I can make £50,000 for 10 hours work or whatever, 10 hours, why can't I do it? Just 10 hours, why can't I do that?
Well, I don't think that's a problem, personally. I think that richness of the different skill sets and experiences that we all bring to the House as MPs is important. I think the key is that the focus.
So it's an hours thing, is it? Obviously, if I were to devote 100 hours to make 50, then my constituents are suffering. But 10 hours in the course of a week to make 50,000, that is permissible in your view.
Well, I don't think it's got anything to do with money at all. Personally, I think it's about
hours. It's to do with hours.
For me, I think there's a clarity and a transparency about hours. I mean, I do two jobs, Nick. I'm an MP full-time, and I'm also a Secretary of State full-time. I work a kind of 90-hour week, so I do two jobs.
Right. But they're both related. I'm thinking more of someone who might be a surgeon or a barrister or whatever it might be.
Why arguably is that a difference? I think the key is that your constituents are your focus. If that is your main and most important job, and we become MPs because we want to serve our constituents and to be parliamentarians. So I think there's the reasonable test, which will be no doubt discussed at length during the debate today and set out hopefully by the committee as they think about how to take this forward. This isn't a government decision. Will be something which has transparency and reasonableness at its heart.
Good luck with your development then, your initiative for this 1 trillion. Just lastly, what percentage of your colleagues are back behind their desks, Secretary of State?
I don't know the answer to that question, but the House is very busy, so I imagine... No,
in the Department of International Trade. How many of your
in the department?
Yes.
A mixture, so nearly just over a third work abroad, and they work to whatever the country rules and regulations are.
Here in the United Kingdom. How many of...
What's the
percentage of staff?
So I don't have a precise figure, and it's changing all the time. We are now working in effectively a hybrid way, which I think is great, and a lot of my teams are out and about, and those who are across the country working in our regional offices are working, day in, day out with the business communities that they serve. So we are working in a much more
desks.
modern
What are we saying? 50%? 40%?
So I don't have a precise figure. I can come back to you, Nick, and ask if you'd like, but I don't know what I want. I want is them to be delivering. Well, I don't mind which desk they're sitting behind as long as they're delivering for my businesses. That's the important thing.
I know.
And that's what they're doing, and they are a fantastic team with an energy and a passion for helping our businesses to be as successful as we can.
Anything like the same or having the responsibility. I know to a man or woman how many of my staff are back at their respective desks, and that's every single one of them. Nothing like the size of your department. You're telling me you don't know the percentage of people who are actually in their offices now working for you?
So
and you're the international trade secretary, and you don't know the percentage of staff. Well, I'm surprised.
So, Nick, I want to make sure that they're doing the job they can, reaching the businesses who need our support, and I don't mind where they're doing that from. We have demonstrated through necessity, through COVID, that hybrid working is something that works well, and I will continue to encourage them to do everything to make sure our businesses are getting out there and exporting as much as they can.
Good luck with Made in the UK, Sold to the World. Anne-Marie Trevelyan is the International Trade Secretary, appearing here on LBC. We're at 2 minutes after 8. News is next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, the cost of living in the UK has reached its highest level in nearly a decade due to soaring energy and fuel prices. Official figures